Hi everyone, so today we are talking about teacher planning. What is everybody else doing? How does everybody plan? And are you the only one that is looking for that elusive perfect planning system and seem to be reinventing the wheel all the time? Stay tuned to find out. Rightio, so I interviewed teachers from a lot of my surrounding schools, and also had lots of messages from teachers when I put out on socials that I wanted to find out more about this. And here is the basics of what I have discovered. We're all the same. We are all reinventing the wheel, all looking for the perfect system. So don't go thinking you're the only one. And if you have found that perfect system, you are a very lucky person. So let's start with year planning. Generally speaking, departments are planning around generally a foundational text, and things drop from there. So you have your little subtext from there, and then your assessments from there. So everything's from that foundational text. And then you have your year planner, term planner, and you map out when you're going to do everything, because if you didn't have the deadlines, you'd never get through it, right? Because it is so tight, and we'll talk about timeframes later. The only trouble with that, of course, is that if you're using that foundational text and sticking around that same thing, there can be a bit of sameness, and some teachers are concerned about that, especially if you're looking at, one of the examples that came up was the book Dry. Neil Schusterman and Jordan, is it, his son? It's a pretty thirsty, depressing read, and to carry on climate change for the whole year, you might want to balance that out with a bit of Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World. In terms of juniors, generally speaking, again, genre is the thing. So we're doing short stories, we're doing plays, we're doing poetry, whatever, and writing, creative writing or persuasive writing, something like that. And also those graduate profiles or lists of skills to be mastered are pretty key, especially in light of the literacy standards that are now a co-requisite, and they really need to master those skills. In terms of faculty sharing, the shared drives, so Microsoft OneDrive and Google Drives seem to be key. And I love the Google Sites because I really like the way you can navigate around those quite easily. So they are very cool as well. And I talk to people about, who puts the stuff on these sites or on these drives. And the idea is that everyone, of course, uploads things so that you're sharing within your faculty. One of the issues with that can be that it becomes a bit of a mess. So one idea would be to have one person that collects everything from teachers, and then they organise where things go in that drive or that Google site. Okay, let's move on to unit planning. Okay. So we're definitely masters of reinventing the wheel there, and what I found out was that don't tell the powers that be, but nobody's really writing many unit plans, and certainly I got the same thing from everybody, and it's the same. It was always the same for me. You start off with a hiss and a roar, and you think, right, we're going to write some decent unit plans, and you write one, and then you never actually teach from it or pick it up again. It maybe delve into it a little bit for a few ideas, but I've got unit plans all printed out, ready to go, that I never look at or never looked at in following years. I don't know why this is, but it seems to be a teacher thing that so many of us are doing. So, and the other thing is that we know our stuff. We know that we've got to get students developing ideas. We know we've got to get them thinking critically. We know how to do all these things. And when you become a senior teacher, that is second nature. So we know our stuff. So you don't have to detail everything. But definitely unit outlines are a thing. Okay, down to time frame realities. I always go over this with my Teachers College students or student teachers. And I'm going to read it here. So you have 4 times 10 week terms, and that's 40 weeks. Now let's look at the seniors here. Take away 10 weeks, because in term 4 you only have them for 2 to 4 weeks, and that's revision anyway, so you got that whole term gone. So now you're down to 30 weeks. Minus 5 weeks in term 1, because it's always a bit of a mess and you've got swimming sports, athletic sports and so on. That's 25 weeks, minus at least 1 week for winter tournament, summer tournament. Now we're down to 24 weeks. And minus 1 week for interruptions like school photos and so on, down to 23 weeks. 23 times 4 periods a week is 92 lessons for the year that you have to get through everything in. So it's not 40 weeks, it's 23 weeks. And cut it down, 92 lessons. You've got to make every lesson count. It's bang for your buck stuff. And I remember when my dad was trying to talk me into going teaching, he walked with me to the classroom because he was the principal. It was so nerve-wracking. And he said to me, okay, what's one thing you're going to teach this class before they all walk out the door? Every student has to know it. And I think I ended up trying to get them to spell February. But it's really hard to have every person in that class come out with one thing. So if you've got 92 lessons, that's 92 things that they could be learning, but it's really hard to teach them that one thing. So, something to think about there. Time is of the essence. Right, now let's look at our daily plans. What do we love about teaching? One of the things is that no 2 days are the same. Interestingly, that's reflected in the way we plan, because we tend to change our planning systems throughout the year. If you have a system that works for you, then that's basically the holy grail, and you should share it with the rest of us. With our lessons, we know that there are great things like starters, and sequencing is important, and differentiation is important, and a lot of that is inherent, and we tend not to plan any details about that when we write something in our plan books. We know what we've got to do, so that's sort of like that unit plan stuff, that curriculum knowledge. We know what we've got to do, so most people are not writing lesson plans in that much detail. Everybody that I spoke to loves a good starter, and again, I think the literacy standards are reflected there because of the need for those language and structural elements. For the seniors, of course, you can do critical thinking, starter activities and so on. At the other end, there's the plenary, the lesson ending, things like your exit cards. Not one single person does this, and in actual fact we had a few laughs about it being like Braveheart, where it's just like hold, because the bell's about to go and you're just trying to keep them in class. My big thing was stand behind your chairs, it's got to be quiet, the room's got to be impeccable, and then when the bell goes you can go, and it was constantly, the bell is for me, not for you. But anyway, the plenaries, it's just one extra thing to plan for. So and as I say, you're working right up to the bell anyway, and then you're trying to hold them in class until that bell goes. Plenaries just ain't working. Right, what system do we all use? So the good old black or yellow plan book is key, and notes in those range from very sparse notes like novel to the Instagram worthy with color coding and more detailed bullet pointed plans. So that's really cool. Many teachers say they start off with good intentions, and I think we all love, especially English teachers, we all love new stationery at the beginning of the year, woohoo! And then you write in all your timetable, you get it color coded up, and it peters out over the weeks because you are just so overwhelmed with work. So you can create your own, which is what I did for most of my teaching. And I had 2 pages. One page had my timetable on with room to write under each one, just a little bit, and the other page had squares for things to do like photocopying to do, people to see, meetings, whatever, resources to make, on the other side. And then I would back those through the photocopy or a printer and spiral bind them. So I'd open up and I'd have my week to view, timetable on one side and things to do on the other. So having the week to view was good because you didn't have to sort of recopy everything over on the next day as you do for a day to view. Having said that, later on I switched to a day to view and had a little strip down the side with my timetable in, and then just made a few notes in those, and then the rest of the page could be for all the things that I needed to do that day. So that ended up working for me in the end. Mainly because my more detailed planning was in a Google Doc table, which was in my whatever I was sharing with my class, whether it was with Microsoft OneNote or Google Classroom. The agenda on the whiteboard. So, you know, you have your names of your classes up along the side of your whiteboard there, and then you write in what you're doing each day, perhaps homework reminders, that kind of thing. So that's really great for the students, but it's also great for you because you can plan on the whiteboard and it's right there in class where you need it. If you have a great big whiteboard or plenty of whiteboard space, you could have actually 2 columns and switch up labels that say this week and next week, and then switch them around so that you can be working with 2 weeks. So that can work really well as well. And then the other thing that I also really like is just having the blank spiral bound notebook from the warehouse, and you just scribble in a few plans about what you're going to do for your class. And sometimes you don't write any notes for that class because you know exactly what you're going to be doing, but that can be good too. And generally it's A5 spiral bound, so it's easy to carry around and you can turn it back. Okay, digital planning options. Everyone seems to want something that's easy to click and type into, because if you're thinking of something mid-class, it's easier just to pick up a pen and write it down, right? But it'd be great to have everything digital, so it's got to be a quick click and type. But anyway, and the other thing is teachers want whatever digital system they're using to be able to move across devices between their phone and their laptop. So the best things, Google Calendar. You can import your timetable from Kamar and put it into your Google Calendar, and I'll put the link below to show you how to do that. One's for Mac and the other's for your normal old PC. And the other thing you can do is you can keep that open in your sidebar, and I'll show you how to do that later as well. Keep that open in your sidebar, and then it's there when you're working on a Google Doc or whatever. Google Keep, similar to Evernote. Quite a few people know what Evernote is. It's basically a sort of a scrapbooking type thing, but you can create a note for each day of the week and put your timetable in there. Again, you can keep that open on the sidebar of your Google View, and you can see exactly what you're doing each day, and you've got your classes, and you just repeat those days every week. So you just type in what you want to do for those periods. Alternatively, you can use Google Keep for tasks, or use Google Tasks for tasks and keep that open. So Google Keep can be used for a couple of things, for your timetable and planning, or for your list of things to do. Planning in Google Docs, we're going to have a look at that in a minute too. You can just create a Google Doc, create a table, put a heading for the week, say, and create a Google table, put your timetable in there, and then you can copy and paste it for 10 weeks. And then if you've got headings, they come up on the left hand bar, so you can just click on the right place to find that week's timetable. Happy days. And then of course, if you're planning like that on a Google Doc, you've got your sidebar open again, and that can have your calendar in with what's on during the day, and it can be school events as well. or you've got your tasks or your Google Keep or whatever you want for your things to do, and your planning is in that Google Doc. As I say, we're going to have a look at all of that in a minute. You can do Google Sheets and tabs along the bottom for each class, one for each class. The only thing is that if you hit enter, when you're typing stuff in, you hit enter, say you want bullet points, it of course clicks to the next cell. And so to sort that out, if you use Alt Enter, you can go down onto the next line rather than the next cell, but it can be a bit of a pain. Now the other thing, Trello. Have a look at Trello, Trello, and I'll put a link to that as well. It seems so promising, but I just can't quite make it work. But I think that part of that is because that any years that I've tried to make it work, it's been the beginning of the year and I've been in such a rush that I haven't given it the time that it needed. But it is free. You can have these boards with cards on them for each class. So, board for each class, and you can put lists up with the days of the week or the weeks of the term along the top, and then plan down from there. The cool thing is that each card can be moved along. So say you're doing symbolism in the novel today and you didn't quite get that done, you can just move it into the next day. So it's quite cool being able to move those cards. As I say, it seemed to have such promise, but I've never really made it work. And then there are paid digital alternatives. So most of the ones out there link you to the American curriculum, but you can just ignore the American curriculum side of things and just use these platforms as you would normally. So planbook.com is one that's used. Again, I'll link that below. And Common Curriculum looks like a good one as well. They are paid. They might have free versions, but I think it's just 30-day trial kind of things. And that's the benefit of things like Trello and all the other Google things. They're free. So happy days. So let's get busy and we'll have a look at some of that digital stuff now. Okay, so here's an example of a plan book in Google Docs. And down the left-hand side, you can see that we can click between the links. So that's because I've created headings. So these are headings, and you can just click on those and then go up to here, to this bit here, title, and make it into a title, not a heading, a title. So make it into a title, and then they come up down here. So I can just click between my links, weeks, and to move from side to side, there's a little bar here as well if I need to. Now on the left-hand side, you can see I've got Google Keep open on the sidebar here, and I've got my this is a little to-do list. So this is Monday, and these are the things I've got to do. Now, so that's planning with Google Docs. The alternative is this, something like this. And so I could have my email open here on this main screen, or I could have a Google Doc open. As you can see here, I'm going to create something, yada, yada, yada. I could have anything open here, my calendar, whatever. And then on the right-hand side, I've got Google Keep again, and I'm doing my planning in Google Keep. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's another way to do it. I could have my calendar open on the sidebar here and be doing my emails, creating whatever in this main view, and then over here is my Google Calendar. And if I've imported my timetable from Kamar, everything will come up in Google Calendar, and I can click on each of those classes and just write a few notes. So that could be on the side there as well. So that's an option. So there's lots of different mixy-matchy things you can do with Google, and that's why it's a pretty cool alternative, I think, to planning if you're really wanting to go digital. Rightio, so hopefully that gave you a few ideas, or perhaps made you realise that you're the same as everybody else. We're all looking for that elusive system, we're all reinventing the wheel, but we're all enjoying that each day is different too, and new, and refreshing, and lovely. Okay, have a nice fortnight. See ya.